Hello, everybody. We're here with CNY Playhouse. They just put out a wonderful 6-video summer cabaret series on their YouTube channel. Introducing people, I'm going to say who's around me in the frame. We have Hallie Greenhouse.
Hello.
We have Zachary Moser.
Hello.
Erica Moser.
Hello.
Abel Searer.
Hi.
Will Masterclap.
Hello.
Ryan Sparks.
Hello.
Corey Hopkins.
Hello.
Kate Crawford.
Hi.
And Natasha White.
Hello.
So to start it off, Abel, how did this cabaret series come to be?
Erica called me.
Fair enough. Erica, how did this cabaret series come to be?
I think Zach and I were talking and we watched the Sondheim Cabaret and we were like, sure, let's do that. And so I called up Lizzie and said, hey, what if I got like 20 to 30 people together and we did like 2 cabarets? And she said, sure, talk to Abel. And I talked to him to help record piano things. And then 3 months later, we had like 90 people or something. I don't know. And that's how it started. But yeah, we saw the Sondheim and we're like, yeah, we can do that. Sure.
Nice. This is directed toward all the music teachers here, since I know you all had some interesting experiences toward the end of your semesters. But I'll start with Ryan. What is it like contributing music to an arrangement remotely?
Certainly different than if you're doing it in person.
Mm-hmm.
Some aspects of it were kind of the same. Just, you learn your part and then you play along with what you hear. The downside is you're not in the same room as your friends that you're making music with. But functionally speaking, it becomes a matter of making sure it all lines up and taking several takes to make sure it lines up. In particular, I'll share an anecdote. I played a woodwind duet that Erica arranged for me and Francis, and that song, Everyday Little Death, it had a lot of push and pull in it. It had some slowdown moments, and lining that up with a piano recording took a lot more tries than if we were in person, where the second or third try we could just look at each other and breathe. But ultimately it was a good exercise and still satisfying in its own way.
Anything else from any of the other music teachers?
I'll just speak to having had students be extremely nervous over recording themselves, singing or performing this past year. When we had to do our duet, I understood better their anxiety of somebody's gonna hear this, and they probably recorded it several times, sometimes not, but just me being somebody who has performed in many shows on many stages, it was still anxiety producing to record for the cabaret. So
well, and you said how a live performance, that's it, but with this it lives on forever.
Yeah, if you sing a note wrong or you're out of tune or whatever in a show, people forget about that a couple minutes later because the show is continuing. But if they've watched it 6 times, then it's less forgettable.
Yeah, and I think for me, this whole idea to kind of use my students as test subjects for this whole thing, because I started off gathering recordings just for some school projects when we were shut down and had to do stuff that way, and then I was like, yeah, this is working for them, we can apply it to the community as well.
Now, Erica, I know you gathered some very interesting stats about this cabaret series. Would you care to share with the group?
Sure. So we had 6 cabarets and there were 87 acts within them. We usually had about 15 per show, but depending on the theme, it was, give or take. There were 62 vocalists and 23 instrumentalists, and then 7 on top of that, like Ryan, who is here, that did both. You did not hear me sing for a good reason. Our youngest performer was 7, and that was Tatum Taylor. Our oldest performer, I did not ask because I think I know who it is, but I didn't want to be that person. We had 161 backing tracks between the 87 acts. So the reason why that number is so much higher is if there were multi-tracking with like our instrumental pieces, like we did a Man of No Importance song, one from Big Fish, Defying Gravity, and then one from a song cycle of William Finn where we had a lot of musicians. But then there were also a number that had drums and bass and sometimes synth parts on it. So that's where the extra ones came from. And that was usually me adding drums to things that sounded weird with just piano. Our most popular shows, I put 3 down, but on retrospect, it was really only 2 of them. Was Something Rotten and Les Mis. I also had Sunday in the Park with George, but that's because so many people asked me to do the same songs and then change their minds. So we had like people that went with that. So it was sort of popular, but we only had 2 for the show. Our oldest show was Anything Goes. Sarah Midgley did the title song on saxophone. And our newest shows were 6 that Mookie did Get Down from, and The Mad Ones, which is a Harrigan and Loudermilk, I think that's their name, show, yes, that Nancy did. I didn't know who those people were until Ryan had me play something, and then Nancy asked about it, so I learned new composers. And as far as like how much audio went into it, there are 60 gigabytes of audio just from the Cabarets somewhere on Zach's computer and hard drive. There were 13 duets and trios, and the last one was 11 multi-track songs, and the most tracks in one video was 40, which was Defying Gravity.
Now, Moses, how do you handle that much music? How do you handle that many tracks?
For me, it was a lot of Google Sheets. People's face is like mirroring what my inside anxiety was at times.
Was it yell inside like, your heart? Is that the new phrase that everyone's saying around?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, so I have like sheets upon sheets of Google Sheets of like just who we were inviting, who said yes, how to contact them, what song they were doing. Then we had to like mark down every time we got something for things that had multiple people. We had to like keep that track of that.
What would you start with if you were doing multiple tracks?
What
would you lay first?
So usually when I started that, I put in the piano track first and kind of lined everything up to that. But as far as organization, I just had like a audio folders for everything and then a video folders for when I got to that point. And then once I had everything I needed for a song, usually like a week before whatever cabaret was going out, I just start at the top of the Google Sheet and just plug things in and go through the process that I think we'll talk about in a little bit.
Yeah, so the reason we always had like long like due dates way before, and it was basically so that I could get piano tracks out as quickly as possible or get them from Abel and then send them and then give them to Zach, and then we'd get them from the singers and then go from there. So like some people were like, I sent you my video like 3 weeks ago, and it's like, yeah, well, we're getting there.
And it was interesting doing the last one, especially because some of those we got pretty far in advance. So there were videos that I received almost a month before that final cabaret that I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot I had this on here. And interesting going back to that.
So now, Zach, I know you had a lot to learn or refine technical skills wise to help pull this together. Would you mind going into some of the specifics of that?
Sure. Yeah, and I was going to try to share my screen with some things as I talk about that. So before this whole quarantine thing, I didn't really know that much about the whole audio editing thing. I kind of started trying to figure that out when I knew I had to figure out some kind of projects for my students to do for my band. And it just ended up being just downloading software that looked good and free or really cheap to get, and then just a lot of like YouTube tutorials on, well, I want to know how to do this with this track, let's see what this guy did, and just kind of pulling ideas like that. My whole goal was to try to make it sound like we were all recording in a similar sort of recording studio environment. So since everyone is using different microphones, different qualities of things, some people had actual like recording microphones to use. A lot of people were just using webcams and things like that. So trying to apply things to the audio that would make it sound like we were recording and kind of emulating a real recording studio.
All right, can you share now?
Yep, looks like I can. So some of the tracks I would dump into this software is called Isotope Rx, and this is like a repair software. Is that showing up okay for people?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so this is just a track that had some background noise in it, because a lot of people I noticed, especially as it got warmer, you'd hear like fans and air conditioners, stuff like that in the background, or you might have yard work or just sounds of the neighborhood going through. So this software, what you can do is kind of highlight, like this is just some air conditioner noise in the beginning, you can highlight that and then get rid of all that and get rid of any like echoey rooms and stuff like that. So some tracks I put through this software, some I didn't have to. And then, so the software I use to put everything together is called Reaper. I tried to run everything through some plugins that simulate like professional recording studio things, so they're actually like simulating the tone that you get from running through like a real analog like mixing board and tape and things like that you would get at a real recording studio. So that helped kind of tie everything together. It's just a lot of just based on, you know, what the individual sent me as far as, you know, how loud their track was, kind of getting that all to go down to be the same. And then I added some reverb to stuff, piano reverb to make the digital piano sound like it was in a real space instead of just a real dead, like dry digital recording. Vocal reverb and sometimes delay, just to delay sounds like it would be kind of a weird thing to add to a vocal recording like this, but what that does is just kind of bring the vocal forward and add a little stereo to it. So just a lot of little tricks like that to make everything work and try to make everything sound as professional as we could. So this is just kind of a standard one. This is the one that Layla did from Dear Evan Hansen, So Big, So Small. And then just to show you the ultimate one, Defying Gravity has a whole lot more going on if you're watching the video version of this. So we had tracks for drums. We had Erica and our friend Nick recorded drums and percussion for this. So we have a few drum tracks, we have bass, we have guitar, we have a bunch of keyboards, and then all the reeds and brass and lead vocals, background vocals at the end, a whole bunch of different things and a whole bunch of different effects. So that was interesting to try to tie together because I had to, there's a lot of push and pull in the song to really try to line that all up. It was a lot of work, but it paid off in the end. It was good. And then, you know, a lot of tracks kind of in between that, so you wouldn't have this many on a lot of them, but you might have the vocals and then like the drum tracks and bass or something like that. So, and then after I went through the whole mixing process of each of these, I would export the audio file into another project, which would be the mastering project. And what that would be doing is just running it through software that kind of measures the overall volume of each track, and then just bringing everything to the same volume, so when you listen to the whole stream on YouTube, everything would be pretty much at the same volume. So, and then just lining it all up with the video after that. So that's sort of the process that I went through with all the tech stuff. It was a lot, but I had not a lot to do beyond this, so it was a good learning project to do during this time.
Well, thank you for your help with that. That is a lot. Oof.
Yeah.
So those who took part in duets or group numbers, can you describe what your personal experience with that was like? Some people were apart, some people were together when doing it. Anyone can chime in if they've got something.
Sure, I'll go, because I did one duet that was separate and then one with the person. It was interesting because when Cole and I got together for ours, we actually recorded it way more times than when I did the duet and then Tyler did the last part of What Is This Feeling? Because I don't know what it was with being in person, but we had to record it more. I think I liked recording it separately and hearing how it sounded together, but I know it was difficult, and I put Kate through the ringer because I recorded my part first and then sent it to her, and she had to like accommodate around me. So I'm sure that she can talk about that a little bit, but that was it was interesting. I think I liked recording separately a little bit better. Maybe it was just having the person there that made it a little, I don't know, we had to record it more times, but.
Well, I found that, so had the same experience, like Corey and I, we did a duet together, but then I did the separate duet with you. And I found that the separate one was easier. And I think what it is it's something about like you're performing for the camera and with the other person that's awkward. Whereas when you're separate, you know, it's not as weird because you're really just performing for the camera and that's it. And the other person's doing the same thing. So there's not like this, like, do I look at you? Do I look at the camera? Like, you can just kind of decide what you want to do, aside from us deciding who was going to be on which side. Like, we had to make that plan ahead of time. Erica gave some really good tips. Corey and I did not follow all of them with our first one, but I did pay attention and follow the rules for the one with Hallie. So one of the things we did was decide who was going to be on the left and who was going to be on the right. So if we wanted to like reference the other person, we could do that. But I think Corey and I had that same experience. I don't think we recorded it as many times as we thought we would, because I think that we really only ended up doing it a couple of times, but we practiced it a lot ahead of time because we were like, what do we do? Like, I don't know. And we did not practice where we were going to look, and we wished we had afterwards, but it was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just kind of doing it like in this digital format, you know, singing a duet with somebody on stage is a way different experience than singing it with them like a foot away, like on a computer screen, because some things that would play well on stage would not so much on a computer. And like for our particular song, A Whole New World, like when you actually see Aladdin, there's a whole lot more going on stage, like flying carpets and smoke and all kinds of stuff. But just singing the song like for what it is, it's, you know, it's not like a acted out kind of song. So it just had its own unique challenges.
Yeah, and you have to stay in your little rectangle because that's where the camera is. So there's also no like, you know, sorry for the people not watching the video, arm motions and moving about.
Well, I mean, I didn't do a duet like that, but one thing we did that helped the trio that you guys did was we did one part and then kept adding it in as we sent it to people, and we ended up doing that for the ones after that. The ones before, they were just doing them separately and kind of, we hoped they would match. So now it was just kind of like a, yeah, so we did Hallie's and we sent that plus the background to Kate, then we sent the two of them to Tyler, and then that worked, I think, the most effectively.
I think it was cool too, because I know when I sent mine to Kate, she could then practice with my recording, and she said that like she was trying to match her vowels and making sure like it sounded more cohesive, where when you're just singing it in person, like Cole and I did a good job, but obviously like we didn't have a whole lot of time to like listen to each other's vowels and try to match that up as exact. So I think, yeah, I think both duets were super fun, and I liked the different way of doing them, but I think that What Is This Feeling was slightly more effective.
Now let's hear from those who did solos. What was your personal experience with this?
So I did 2 solos, and for me, I know that I'm very particular, so I very specifically had to schedule a certain amount of time in which to work on this so that I didn't go back, kind of like to what Corey was saying earlier, is that like it is a format which can be gone back to and listened to over and over and over again. So like I would do that to myself, and I would listen to it over and over again and be like, no, that's not what I want. So I had to really specifically schedule an amount of time to work on this, so I didn't spend all of my time working on this.
I guess I kind of had a slightly different approach, because I mean, I tried to treat it as much as a live thing as possible, because that's what felt, I guess, the best to me. So I would do like a take, listen to it back. Okay, I don't like X, Y. Do another take, like, oh, I didn't like this. And then so like by the third or the fourth, even if I still felt like it had a flaw or two, I felt like it was the best complete take. So that's what I ended up giving for my 2.
I kind of took some different approaches with different solos that I did. I did like 3, maybe one more, I don't remember. But there were a couple of them where I recorded video and audio together. And when Erica sent out the initial suggestions, she said, consider doing your audio and video separately, but I just kind of had it set up so the webcam would capture audio, but I'd have the recording there. So it felt a little more unified to me that way. But some of the later ones, I did audio by itself, and then I did video later, and that allowed for me to be a little bit fresher when going to the other one. And I think I found with that method, I did way more audio takes, but then I did the video in like one. because that was the easy part in a way. Like the singing part is done, and if I sing a weird note or I'm not happy with it, as long as it lines up, great, no one's gonna hear it. So having done it both ways, it yeah, it's like whatever works for you.
To go off what Ryan was saying, I would do the same thing where I would take a lot of audio takes. But also I cannot imagine Zach and Erica listening to, so I would take audio takes and I tried to do them separately. So I had a video and an audio file, but then the video file was just me lip syncing or not particularly caring how I sounded and like acting visually. And so I'm just imagining these files that exist somewhere that are just my face doing what it should be doing and my voice not doing what it should be doing.
They still exist.
I know.
My favorite of that was, I'm going to call him out because he did a really nice job on Defying Gravity, was our horn player, Derek. Forgot to send us a video. And so it was the day we were putting it together and we were like, dude, do you want to be in this video now? He's like, yeah. So we said, it doesn't have to be like full out, just, you know, it's just for appearances. Well, he thought that meant like just like basically lip sync on the French horn. So when I'm lining up the video, so because I did the multi-track videos and Zach did all of the other ones, I was trying to hear his part and I'm like, why can I not hear what he's doing on the French horn? And like, there's very little movement with it. So I like, and it took me a good like 5 minutes until I had it up like the max and everything else low until I was like, he's not playing at all. Like, oh, it's just him literally faking the French horn throughout the entirety of Defying Gravity. But the video worked great. So it was funny, but I didn't expect he was doing that.
That's part of the reason that I did my audio and video at the same time, is because I know I'm awkward, so I didn't want to record a separate visual video from my vocal video because I know it wouldn't have lined up the same way. I think I took more of a similar approach to Will with my solo, where I didn't want to over practice it. I just wanted it to be authentic and like it would be on stage. So I kind of went in and did the same thing where I recorded a couple times, and then if there was any edits to be done, I re-recorded it.
What is one of your favorite numbers in this Cabaret series? Obviously not a complete list, but what's one of your favorites that was across the 6 videos?
Lesson 8.
I came prepared.
Lesson 8. Sorry, I came prepared too because I was like,
what was it?
Zach's lesson 8. I was
thanks.
like, that was gorgeous. So yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would say for mine, probably just any of the ones that were kind of the medium-sized ensembles. So where we did like the number from Big Fish, or Ryan, your Wondering track, where we just had like a decent-sized band, but not an overwhelming amount. Like Defying Gravity just took hours and hours and hours to put together. But the medium-sized ones were a ton of fun to try to get that professional sound with the mixing, but it wasn't like totally crazy.
The non-vocals, I think it was I'll Be Here from the Wild Party, just because I feel like I just have a soft spot in my heart for that show. So I mean, there are a lot of great ones, but I really like that. And then it was really hard for me to pick for vocals, but if I had to pick one, I would say Wishing You Were Somehow Here Again, which Alexis Martin sang, because I just felt really moved by that performance, and I just love Alexis. So
You took mine. Thanks.
haha, glad I spoke up.
I'll just jump in. I really liked Ryan and Francis's Every Day a Little Death for like an instrumental performance, and I really like Josh Melee singing The Secret Garden, Wish You to the Top of the Morning. I would love to see him do that show. So I really enjoyed that.
Corey,
and Kathy Eglaw, sorry, singing Broadway Baby.
That was a good
I would
choice
see
for
that
her.
show too.
There were so many good ones.
Yeah, my pick was Ryan and Francis with Every Day a Little Death. That was my favorite.
Thank you. We really enjoyed putting that one together. I echo Zach with the medium ensemble pieces. Like, I didn't know I Have Found It All, but once that came together, that was really cool. But the Big Fish number was really great. From an acting and performance standpoint, I have to like give a shout out to some of the more elaborate performances. I'm thinking particularly like Cole Venture singing Michael in the Bathroom in his bathroom, and how great that was. Or even just like the simple act of Eric Ziegler singing to a Funko Pop Audrey 2 Grow For Me, just like the little things like that that just brought it that next level. They brought a smile to my heart, and I appreciated those.
My favorite is probably, we've said like the middle ensemble ones. Mine was probably Fight the Dragons from Big Fish that Ben still sang for us, and he didn't know the song, and I was like, I would like you to do this, please learn this song, and he was like, okay. But yeah, that was one of mine. I also really liked the What Is This Feeling that you guys did as the trio. That was a lot of fun to put together. So yeah, those were my favorite two, I guess the full performances, but I think my favorite ones that I like played tracks for were probably Gary Robinson's Chimp in a Suit doing all the full jazz combo, and then he did a really nice job with that. Or Mookie's from Six. I got to explore sounds on my keyboard that I've never used before and like pretend I was a hip hop hip hop musician.
It was fun pretending to be a hip hop engineer on that one too.
Yeah, so those were mine.
I was just really going to quickly say that on the last Cabaret, Wyatt McDaniel, his stuff was incredible, I thought. And it was cool to just feature some performers like him that hadn't had like a lot of gigantic roles, but were able to do solos for us.
I liked Facade because the only thing more ridiculous than my memory of playing that on the accordion when the keyboard broke at BTG was you doing a multi-track like 4-mallet version for four mallets. So that was pretty.
I tried to think of like the silliest thing that would work for 20 percussionists, and it did.
Yep.
So this Cabaret series was, for the most part, something new that's come about due to the pandemic. What's something else that you've personally been doing or started doing again or started doing more of during quarantine?
I'm learning how to knit. Does that count?
I think just a lot of extra practice time that I normally wouldn't have had.
I've been getting into hiking more, which I used to do a while ago, and then doing so many shows in a row, you don't really have the time. So
April and I do all the walking together. Many miles.
also learned Quiplash and other Jackbox games from all the Zoom calls that we've been doing.
Those are fun.
I've been doing a lot of sewing for masks. That's not a new skill, but I hadn't.
Yeah, I have some in the other room.
Too. I feel like when we go back to the Playhouse and we're still wearing masks, like we're all gonna look the same because it's the same fabric that I've been using.
I've been reading a lot more than I usually do. Also, I taught Francis how to juggle, and I added a ball to my repertoire, so there's that.
Huh.
Now you just need the harmonica.
Yes, I need the music-making balls and the harmonica, and then we're all set.
Just to make sure we've covered all bases, are there any other interesting behind-the-scenes tidbits anyone wants to share that I missed?
Apparently cats like my videos because when we were recording at Cole's apartment, their cat it jumped up on the table and was just staring at me. Maybe that was why it was more difficult to record that duet, because I had a cat staring at me. And then apparently Erica, when she was mixing ours, the cat was like staring at the computer, avidly watching it. So I don't know what it is. I'm allergic to cats. Maybe that's why they like me, but they like watching me sing.
One of the times when I was trying to record, so many things were happening. There was like construction in my building, and so it was so loud. And so I was like, oh, okay, I'll just wait till nighttime. And then nighttime happened, and it was like the week of a billion fireworks, but not 4th of July, but like the week, like another week when there were a billion fireworks happening. So I was like, okay, well, so then I waited until the next day and there was still construction. So I drove in my car. I like drove out into an empty parking lot and like recorded the audio in my car. And I was just trying. And it was so hot that this is another video that Erica and Zach have, is literally just like sweat dripping off of my face as I'm trying to record the audio for the song. And then my iPad got so hot that it said, "This is too hot. This is an emergency." And then it shut off.
But the audio sounded really good in the end.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Oh my.
That's my best story.
I also had a sweaty recording moment. So in order to try and minimize background noise, I was in this room, but I shut windows and I turned off the fans and everything, but it was on one of those just blisteringly hot days. It was when I was playing bass clarinet on I Have Found, and it was like, I think the thermostat was reading 86 or 87 in here, but it was all for the art. So there was no background noise for the best sound quality I could get. But like after the 2 or 3 takes, it was just like so sweaty. I couldn't even maintain a seal. I was like, all right, that's as good as it's gonna get.
I have really funny ones of like most takes for piano because they're not the ones that you would expect. Oddly enough, all of Hallie's songs were my most takes because they were like not the hardest, but they were just hard enough where I couldn't sight read them, but I thought I could. So I didn't practice them, and it was with all of the songs. And so I would like get halfway through and then I'd mess up. And then also her first song, I like didn't know it, and the end is like this big slowdown, and I just like got faster. And so she texted me, I'm like, what is she talking about? And then I like listened, and it was like comically bad. So I had to redo that one. But the other one that had the most takes was the easiest piano song, and that would be A Whole New World. But for whatever reason, I could not turn the page in time. And even though I've been playing it since I've been like 6th grade, I couldn't remember what came next. So I think A Whole New World had like 30 takes for the piano part. And it was basically just me swearing after like every page turn that I couldn't do. I even got like a digital page turner, and it would like turn like 2 pages. And I was getting like more frustrated because it was such an easy piano part that I could not play, and it was just,
And that
like
was pretty
hours
early
of my
on, right?
life gone. Yeah. What?
That was like one of the first, like, because that was really early when you first started doing them too. Yeah.
I think I did that one and the Avenue Q one in the same day, and I think between the 2 of them, it was like 3.5 hours of me just like swearing at my keyboard because I like couldn't, and then I'd like get up and like stop and like eat a snack and come back. But those were the ones that took me the longest.
I think for me, for the audio one, it's also going to be Hallie, just because you were one of the first ones to send us your first song. So yours was kind of the one that I learned how to do all the EQing and compression and other audio effects on. So I worked on that one a lot.
Well, sorry it was so difficult.
No, you were the first person always to return your song.
That had nothing to do with you. It was
were,
just the first one. Yeah.
You were always our guinea pig of like, how am I going to record tracks? Like, okay, we'll do this.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to say is kind of similar to what Erica said, like A Whole New World. Like, how many times have I sung that song? So I was like, oh, when Erica suggested it, I'm like, oh, great, perfect. Corey and I know that song. Let's just do it. And then once I got it, it was so hard for me not to just imitate the original track, you know, and like sing like a little Disney princess. So that was actually the only thing that was difficult, is figuring out how to like just sing it like myself and not try to imitate the voice on the recording.
That's the difficulty I ran into a lot with both the songs I did. Is like, oh wait, don't do an impression, just be me.
I also gave Abel 2 songs that I tried and was like, do I want to learn this? No, he probably knows it. And he was like, I've never played these before. And I was like, oh, well, here you go.
What did you give me?
Broadway Baby and A Little Priest. Hey, I learned A Little Priest and I was like, how long is this going to take me? Now, Abel played it. Like, here you go.
Abel didn't play it. Abel didn't play that show.
Yeah, but I forgot that. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone always forgets that I didn't play most of those shows.
You had to play it in rehearsal.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I stumped Abel with my first pick.
We couldn't find that one.
Sound of Music was not what I was going to originally sing, but we couldn't find Are We Dancing from The Happiest Millionaire. Like anywhere.
We looked a lot of places, man. We could not find that.
Was like $80 to get the sheet music, and it was not time for deadline. So I was like, can you just sing something else?
So that's why we pieced that together.
Yeah. Everyone that we gave tracks to, for the most part, we got them back And I think really the only one we didn't, Ryan stepped in and did a song for us. So like our rate of return was like very close to 100. So that made, I may have had to bug people like a lot, some of them, but I tried to do it in a nice way until like it was the day before and it was like, what are you doing? Please give me your track. I made people feel bad about themselves, so I'm sort of sorry, but also deadlines are good.
No, you just sent us GIFs.
That's true. I did do that. Yeah. I was hoping people would be less mad if I sent like snarky gifts to them. So,
how can folks out there support the Playhouse's Summer Cabaret series?
cnyplayhouse.org/donation, or you can go to YouTube and find all of the cabarets on the CNY Playhouse page. They are also listed in a playlist now, so that if you play one, hopefully another one will come up, so you can have 6 hours of fun. Also, cnyplayhouse.org/store, you can buy some of the nice swag that we're all wearing.
Right.
Some of us have show shirts on because they're cool. Yeah.
Those are collector's items.
That's true. I only have Annie. That's the only show shirt I have from CNY Playhouse.
Well, your son was in that show, so that makes sense.
That's true. My child was in that show. He was a star.
Yes, he will.
He also got super fat during it. He's a dog, for the listeners that were not aware.
Thank you for the context.
My dog was in the show, and the children and adults gave him too many treats, and he got fat.
Being in the pit with Erica, for you listeners that didn't know that, I can assure you that in this show with all those child performers, there was no prouder stage mom than Erica Moser.
I definitely missed the clarinet solo opening night because I was watching Louis go across the stage for his big debut.
I had to I was like, what is he doing? And I just played it on the piano. Oh, he's watching our dog.
I'll never forget when he just walked towards you guys, from the stage into the pit.
He's like, oh, Zach's there. Yeah. But he knows the word tomorrow still. He thinks it's the place. He's not really sure about the song, but so he associates the tomorrow place with being a very happy place with children and lots of treats. So you're all welcome.
Thank you all for coming on this Zoom call today.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steven.
Thanks for having us.